All right, so we're gonna pick it up with common injuries. Okay, so we'll say the most common injury you always hear from people is shoulder pains, neck pain. So let's say people will keep it as a category for fitness. So most fitness people are probably gonna have shoulder pains, maybe some knee pains, and some lower back pain. Okay, usually when it comes into like bodybuilding, those are usually going to be the sports that cause those pains. Okay, then we'll lead into regular daily pains that just people in today's society deal with, which is almost within the same category, which would be neck, more lower back, and if you have a lot of people with typewriting, wrist pain, so on and so forth. Okay, so the first thing you need to really try to focus on is don't freak out. Okay, it's not the end of the world. You're not gonna die. Okay, you don't need to go have surgery and just fucking connect your discs together, get a rod in your back, and fucking get a piece of metal in your leg. Like, you don't need to do that. Most times, you don't need to do any of those excessive things. Okay, so all you have to think of is going to your body's original like form. Okay, stop looking at me. I'm trying to focus, bro. All right, so we're gonna keep it rolling. So basically, your body's structured a certain way. So if you were to think back in science class back in high school, right, and your teacher had the skeletal system and she'll show you, look, your hand goes like this and your hand goes like that, right? You just gotta think of that. Okay, that is the way that your body was genetically made. Okay, and that's how your body is supposed to move. Okay, now if you're feeling pains, it's because you're putting your body in a pressure point that's not according to where your body should be. Okay, so that right there is like the answer to probably all pains in a nutshell. Okay, scoliosis, disc herniations, inflammations, tendons, all kinds of shit. Okay, so you just have to find the displacement and fix it. All right, so it gets tricky, but the more you think more in tune with your body, the more you'll start to understand how things work and correlate. All right, so let's give an example. All right, so let's say we'll go with a shoulder injury. Okay, a lot of people have a lot of shoulder injuries. Okay, most people, they're gonna have injuries radiating throughout here. Okay, when you have injuries throughout this area, it's always going to be something, a tightness that's creating that inflammation. Okay, when something's tight, what do you do to help alleviate that? You stretch. Okay, how should you stretch? Well, basically, you're going to be doing normal things that is made for your body. Okay, so here's this is something that a lot of people do that just makes them worse from when they started. So I've seen this countless of times. I see it in so many YouTube videos, so many Instagram videos. Someone's like, okay, look, I have lack of range of motion when it comes to my shoulder press. I can't go all the way back. So what I do is, to compensate, I just do an exercise where I'm like inclined and I just press forward. So why is that wrong? Okay, you're succumbing to the injury. Okay, so if you have lack of range of motion, okay, instead of, when you don't take care of that and you just do exercises around that, you're just going to make your issue worse, and you're just going to make it harder for you to fix the first initial problem. And you start creating adhesions, tight points, all this nastiness that's going to take more years of rehab than something that could have been fixed within a couple months. Okay, now that is literally 95%. Most people get an injury, they're like, oh, it hurts, I can't go like this anymore, so I'm just going to raise it like this. Okay, you're just gonna make it worse. You still have to work that muscle group. If you don't work it and you just disregard it and you just go around it, it's just gonna be worse and worse and worse. It's gonna be weaker and weaker and weaker, and it's always gonna get harder eventually to get to the first initial recovery. So when you find the problem, don't disregard it. Laying there and resting and does nothing is not gonna fix your problem. You have to do something accordingly to fix the motherfucking problem. Okay, so look, I have a shoulder problem, right? So I have a lot of pressure, pain. I'm like, what's the first thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna feel pain, you're gonna feel pulsating. What's the next thing that's gonna happen? Your body is gonna start reacting to that, okay? Our body naturally reacts a certain way to avoid a problem. So when you get sick, okay, and you have a bunch of bacteria in your body, your body starts attacking the bacteria to get rid of that disease, right? So when your body starts feeling pain, it starts creating like a bunch of muscle around to help with that tightness. But the thing is, it makes it worse. So let's not get too deep into that. Basically, when you feel that pressure, okay, your body's going to start like trying to avoid feeling pain. And the thing is that when that happens, it usually makes it worse. So most people, when they start having shoulder pain, they feel pain, so they just feel crippled, so they just go like this, and this. Okay, someone feels back pain, oh, I have back pain, and they just like fall into it because they're trying to avoid the pain. But the thing is that when you do that and you succumb to that, you're making your problem worse. You want to go back to that original point where you should be. So, for example, elbow pain. Some people have like tendonitis issues, okay? They feel a lot of pain in their elbows. So more than likely they'll have issues within like their wrists area, not their wrists, their rotation, right? So when they turn and rotate a certain way, they might have like clicking in the elbow or so on and so forth. Those comes from super tight muscles around that area. So I'm trying not to go too far in depth because I probably have already gone too far in depth, but I'm trying to explain there's always a reasoning behind every single problem, and it's not, there isn't a reason why you should just freak out and just think I need to go to have surgery, so on and so forth. Okay, now let's go to a bigger picture. So my shoulder starts falling forward, boom, I start falling like that. What's going to happen with that is it's going to start creating imbalances throughout your body. When you start creating imbalances throughout your body, one little thing can lead to multiple things. Okay, does that make sense? So boom, my shoulder goes forward, what's gonna happen? One, you're not gonna have much development in your chest. A lot of bodybuilders have fat ass fucking shoulders, right? And their chest is this big. They're little fucking mosquitoes, right? They're swole as fuck, right? You got all kinds of swollenness going on, but they got no chest. Why? Because they're overcompensating with the shoulders, and then their chest has no activation, so it's underdeveloped as fuck, right? So that's one of the problems that come from that. Now, another problem that comes from that is you have elongation. So this starts coming here, so the muscles behind here get weak and they start elongating, okay? When they start elongating, then it starts going up to my neck, and I start having pressures on my neck, so on and so forth. So you're gonna see, hey, what you doing? What the fuck is wrong? You see how things start to correlate and just expand, right? So then it elongates, you start feeling pain. Boom, now this pain is coming up here. Later on, with time, if you don't fix it, or you start doing exercises around it, now I'm starting to have pains in my neck area that I didn't used to have in the past, okay? Didn't have in the past. So when you have, let's say the muscles within that neck area that are weak, you start having very important muscles that were initially in the past used basically as like your armor, I would say, to your bones, kind of. They start getting weaker and they're not working and moving accordingly. So then you're more susceptible to tearing something, okay? Because after you create those imbalances and you start shifting on accordingly, then you can start lead to, oh, I tore my labrum, oh, I popped my AC joint, oh, now I have a disc herniation in my neck. So it's literally any kind of like little problem you get usually comes from a weakness or an imbalance in your body, okay? So how do you fix that? Okay, you have to look at yourself symmetrically. Okay, you have to stand there and you have to see like, okay, what's going on with my body? Okay, do I have one arm that's fucking 2 times stronger than the other? And every time I'm bench pressing, I'm pushing everything on the right side and this side is barely compensating. You have to find things that's gonna put your body back to normal. Okay, you think it's gonna be normal pushing double the amount of strength on one side compared to the other? Okay, eventually you're gonna pull something. That one side is not gonna be able to keep up with the other side, and you're gonna pull something, you're gonna have a pain in your back, pain in this, okay? So you have to be able to be conscious with what you're doing, okay? And that's why a lot of these exercises you're doing, you should try to keep it very basic, okay? So for example, when it comes into fitness, guys, I really recommend controlling your body weight prior to going into weights. You'll get so much more growth if you've accomplished body weight exercises before you lead into bodybuilding. Then you'll be more in tune with the way your body is supposed to move, so on and so forth. And then when you lead into weights, you can control the weights accordingly. Now, if you go straight to weights, you don't even know how to control your body's just gonna go where it feels the strongest, which is gonna be rounding, which is gonna be overarching, or it's gonna be knees and caving, so on and so forth. And then yes, you build muscle down the line, but then you end up like, okay, I was in the fitness industry for many, many years. And I would say anybody who's in the fitness industry for any years, even YouTubers, famous people, they all have injuries, okay? It's because of overcompensations. It's from a heavy lift. So even when you, let's say, I maxed out and I hurt myself. Yes, when you're maxing out, you are more susceptible to getting an injury. But an injury comes from an imbalance of weakness in your body. So eventually, if you have, let's say you're a strong unit overall, your chances and susceptibility go a lot less, okay? So, oh God, this is a lot, and I want you guys to learn and understand, okay? So, let's go over a major key that most people look at, okay? Let's say we'll look at how to start. Okay, we'll start from the first of the injury and then we'll go around it. Okay, so boom, you just got an injury. Okay, an injury you go about in certain ways. Sometimes if it's just very recent, yes, you need to give your body time to rest, because let's say it's black and blue, boom, 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 it's in pain. Okay, you need to rest, ice, do that whole elevation scenario, so on and so forth. But then you need to go back on top of it and rehabbing the injury itself. Okay, when you're rehabbing the injury, okay, there is no sense in fixing one part but just disregarding everything else, okay? Because we were born interlocked, okay? So when you're just doing rehab on one thing, one stupid little exercise, but you don't learn how to use your body as a unit altogether, unilaterally, you're not getting anything from that, okay? You need to learn from the ground up how to use your body as a unit. You get a lot more benefits from that for overall strength, performance, everything, compared to just doing the common rotation, I have a pain in my shoulder, so I'm just gonna do this shit all day and see if I can fix the problem, right? Instead, you can do exercises that's gonna help control, like you do your whole body, it's gonna help promote movements all around. Now you're using your abdomen, your hamstrings, so on and so forth. So I'm gonna show you guys examples and exercises. This was an idea that I wanted to create today because I have a couple exercises that I could show you that's going to help fix problems. So you start from the common injury. You're never going to fix the problem from the same exercise. If you actually got a severe injury, or if you get an injury, more than likely you're more susceptible to get that injury over and over and over. So when you're going for rehabilitation, a lot of people, they'll give you these exercises that are very simple to do, banded exercises. You want to eventually create more and more challenging exercises towards your body, so it can help you strengthen you so you never have that problem again. So when you first initially hurt that problem, you want to do banded exercises, it's going to help, but then eventually you want to do strengthening exercises that are more challenging, harder to lead into never hurting again. So very fucking simple. You grab a 10-pound dumbbell, right? And from doing rotations accordingly with proper form with 10 pounds, now you're doing 30 pounds with proper form and controlling your body, and you're controlling your body's alignment, so on and so forth. So it should be getting harder and harder and harder, and that's how you're gonna fully rehab and not have to worry about injuries again. Because most people, when they have an injury, it's an occurring injury. It just happens over and over and over because they've rehabbed it until they've gotten rid of the pain for the most part, but they haven't completely strengthened the muscles around it that's going to keep you from getting the pain again. Make sense? So all injuries act differently. They all change your body in different ways. The only thing you have to acknowledge, find the tight points, and focus on what needs to be fixed. Okay? So it's not something to react so much about. So let's say you have a knee injury, usually the muscles around it are tight. Okay, certain muscles on the opposite side need to be strengthened, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it's actually not that hard. Well, I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time, so it doesn't seem that hard to me, but it's something that you can understand yourself if you take your time to do your research around that certain area. Okay, so the best thing you can remember in your head is just remember the skeletal system. Just remember where the body falls and aligns, and that's the way you should be. At any given point, If you're within that point, but you feel uncomfortable or you feel displacement, then that's a problem. That's something you need to fix, and you need to be able to feel comfortable in anatomical alignment. Hopefully that makes sense to you people. Okay, so I created a really nice exercise for my disc herniation that has learned. It's a different, more challenging exercise that's helped me significantly, but it's from over a year of rehab. So this is part one of Jason thoughts on knee injuries and rehabilitation. We'll have more parts to it and more structure to it, but this is just, we'll call it Jason talk. How about that?